Today we're restoring number 30C, a steel crane that was produced from 1965 till 1970 that I picked up from a local yard sale for only €1. Looking at the model, it really looks like so much shoot on the hook. The paint is in pretty poor condition and the axles are quite good. First of all, we need to drill out the rivets so the crane and the front two axles release. Drilling out the rivet, the crane just comes right off. Next, the small rivet, you can see it's really thin metal, so I need to be really careful to not drill through the entire model. With a little bit of prying, the front just comes right off, and as you can see, the headlights and grille come off with it. Next, it's time to take off the wheels and axles by just taking my Dremel and taking off the excess metal. It's a little bit of a fiddly job, but after a little while, I get them off. After removing the metal, the wheel just pops right off. Same with the second and all the other axles. Now the hook. Normally you just have to push up the hook and it will come right off. This one didn't, so I just used some brute force. Didn't work, so I resorted to using a screwdriver. After a little while, it just falls off. And as you can see, it has two tabs to attach the new hook. Let's get the paint off, hopefully a little bit more successful than last restoration. Don't forget to put on your mask and your gloves, and put on the paint stripper on the model and on the crane. Now, after 20 minutes, let's see what it does. Ooh, look at that, it's nice and bubbly. To take my toothbrush and get the paint off. I love it when it just falls off to the model and to the crane. Now it's time to use my brush and a little bit of water to get the last remaining paint off. And this is what I end up with. Pretty good, I guess. Now it's time for the primer. For primer I use a Tamiya Fine Coat Surface Primer. Shake up the can, put in my mask and start spraying. In total I do 2 coats, a light one and a heavy one, so the paint sticks to the metal. And I do the same thing to the crane. Next, for my color, I use a Tamiya green, the XF70. Get my little container and start mixing up. First, add the green, but it was a little bit too dark, so I added some white. After that, I added the thinner and topped off with some yellow. After mixing it, I got the right color. Now, put the color in my airbrush and start spraying. I noticed that my airbrush was clogging up a little bit, so after painting this model, I quickly took it apart, cleaned it, and got ready for painting the crane. Now, time for the crane. Got orange, but it was a little bit too bright, so I just added in some red. Start mixing up, add in some thinner, and got the right color. A huge thank you to MK Models for supplying my yellow hook. Link to the store will be in the description down below. Just take the hook and slot it in. Now it's time to reattach the wheels to the axles and the axles to the model. Just slot on the wheel, stick it through the model, a wheel on the other side, and how I do it on this model, I just put the model on my vise with the good edge. Take my hammer and just tap the little and to tap the axle until it gets a nice edge. Axle 1 done, and do the same with the second axle, third and fourth axle. Now it's time to reattach the front bit. Normally you would drill, tap and put a screw in the hole, but you can't do that because the metal is so thin. So I just used some glue. Just slot it in and press it in. Next step is to reattach the crane to the model. Normally you would again drill and tap this hole, but my tab broke in the previous restoration, so for now I'm just gonna slot it in. And that's done. We have a complete model. Let's take a look at the before and the after. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, subscribe, and what model should I do next? Bye.